Prop Speed. What is it? How well it worked for us? And how we applied it. At the same time, we'll do a 4-month update on our Copper Coat application.
Hello, my name is Rebecca.
And I'm Patrick.
And we're on the sailing vessel Brick House, a 1976 Valiant 40. And we, about 4.5 months ago or so, went into the water at Zululand Yacht Club in Richards Bay.
And then we sat at the dock for about 2 months. What we did was a lot of work to Brick House when we were hauled out, but also at that time we put Copper Coat anti-fouling on the bottom of our boat and also Prop Speed on the shaft and propeller. So then we sat at the dock in Richards Bay, which is an estuary. It's a very high nutrient rich estuary, which promotes a lot of nasty barnacles and ring growth to grow. So we sat there for 2 months, and then we moved down the coast. It's about, 800 miles from Richards Bay. We're in Hout Bay now, which is down around the very southern tip of Africa, Cape Agulhas, and then back up the west coast a bit. So over there, let me show you real quick. Way over there, you see the flat mountain. That's Table Mountain. The one on the left is a separate mountain, but on the other side of that is Cape Town. It's about an hour's trip by bus. But anyway, we're here today because I'm going to do the update, a 4-month update on our Copper Coat application to show you how well or not so well it was working, and also the Prop Speed. But what really makes this worthwhile is just 4 boats over from us are our friends who were hauled out in Cape Town, in Richards Bay also. At the same time, they applied a traditional anti-fouling paint to their bottom. They were launched about 2 weeks after us, so this is a good side-by-side comparison. We're in the same estuary waters, and now in this colder water here in Hout Bay, it'll be a good comparison of their anti-fouling to the Copper Coat, and also their prop, which had no anti-fouling on it, to our Prop Speed. So it'll be an interesting video. But let me just take you over here real quick, and I'm going to show you something that really surprised me and I was very happy about. Even in Richards Bay at the waterline, there was never any growth along the waterline. It was always just this clean. And waterline has always been the most difficult part to keep clean on our boat. As you can see here in this video, all that weed, I don't even remember where this video was taken, but you can see the weed line and all that growth. It would take a lot of scrubbing to get that off. It would take a credit card and maybe a green scrubby to remove that stuff. But let's go on down the dock here, and I'll show you what I did just 2 weeks ago, which was at the 4-month mark of application. And I put on my wetsuit and I went in the water, and we'll do the side-by-side comparisons. Then I'm going to come back to Brick House and show you what I did in the water here to clean our bottom, and also what kind of growth, if any, was on here.
You won't even believe the difference.
So we will start at the bow of the port side of the port hull and work our way back. But as we get to the back of the boat, we really start seeing a lot of growth at the waterline. Long, hairy strings of growth. And that's where on our own boat, we've always had to take a credit card, use that as a scraper if we didn't want to damage the anti-fouling. But then sometimes we even had to use a more aggressive hard scraper, a stainless steel scraper, and then a green scrubby to get this long stuff off. It's extremely difficult. And even the long furry grass here, I did scratch that with my fingernails, and that was going to take an aggressive scraper to get that off. This was professionally applied anti-fouling, and it was the most expensive, highly rated paint, which was recommended by the contractor. But take a look at this prop, and we will get a little better look at this prop when we get around to the starboard side of this hull. This water is 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so a bit on the nippy side, and I had to heat up some water on the stove and then pour that down in my wetsuit to help warm up and take the chill off, that sudden shocking chill before I entered the water. The owner of this boat had to hire a local diver to scrape and wire brush and clean the hull and the prop shaft and everything else. It took quite a while to accomplish all of that work. I was ready to clean our bottom, so I set up the 12-volt hookah that I'd be using for the process and to inspect the bottom. I was a little disappointed to see any growth at all on our bottom, on the copper coat, but I'll get back to that in just a second. The prop speed was looking pretty good, certainly compared to our friend's prop. And getting back up here to the hull, when I wiped it, it just came off like it was nothing. It was like if it was dust. So I was very happy to see that. I was greatly relieved. I was being a little stupid though. I really should have had some gloves on. Wiping a hull like this, hit a barnacle, that's an instant skin slice and a very fast infection. But fortunately, there were no barnacles. It was just some very loose, slimy stuff that came right off. When I finally established communications with Coppercoat and I was able to ask them about my sanding using 80 grit paper to get the finished product on my hull to look like their sample picture, they said yes, it was not the best way to go. I should have used a much finer sandpaper. Using the coarser sandpaper might have been a little faster for me, but it also leaves a little rougher finish for sediments to settle into. And on top of that, then you get growth. And so that's possibly why I've got all the slime here. Moving farther forward along the starboard bow, there is far less gunk hanging on to the bow. This is what I would really have liked to see, but you have to live with what you get. And so far, actually, I'm pretty pleased with what we have. A soft rag would have been much easier to use to get into all the little crevices and the tight spots on this prop. But I think the sponge does show just how easy everything did come off. Compared to other cleanings, it hardly took any time at all to clean this bottom. Just wipe it off, dust it off, and anything that I missed just went back with my hand and wiped it away. PropSpeed has some very good videos to show how to apply their product, but I still hear from other people that they've had PropSpeed fall off of their propeller in their shaft. That person had a bronze propeller, and I really think there's an application problem there. So we'll show you some clips of what we did to apply it to our prop and shaft, and why we didn't apply it to the strut, and a few other considerations. If you're going to be applying PropSpeed to your own prop, shaft, and strut, it'd be a very good idea to watch their videos on the application process. But I'm just going to show you some of the things that I did on our setup here. This is a Kiwi prop made in New Zealand. The black blades are made of Zytel, a very hard composite. They make airplane blades out of the same material. I first removed all of the old PropSpeed, mostly by using a drill with a wire wheel and a wire brush, similar to these. And of course, people will say don't use a steel wire brush on a stainless steel product. But I did, and it worked out just fine because that was just the initial part of removing the PropSpeed. The wire wheel, and it worked pretty well too on the Zytel blades, and it doesn't work so well on the hub just forward of those blades because that's a much softer material. And that's why you still see some of the original yellow PropSpeed. Then it took a lot of hand sanding with 80 grit paper to get everything else off. And of course I taped over where the zinc was going to be on the shaft so that we wouldn't put any PropSpeed in that area. That has to stay perfectly clean. I'm not applying PropSpeed to the bronze strut because the last time I did, it only lasted a year. The PropSpeed on the prop and shaft lasted 2 years. I asked PropSpeed about this and they say zinc is too big. Well, that zinc has always been that size forever. I suspect the shortened life might be because I have grounding wires going to that strut. But in any case, 1 year of life versus 2 years, I thought this time I would just put on the copper coat on the strut and we'll see how that performs. At a certain point, gloves have to be worn. Not contaminating the surfaces with fingerprints or dust is most important. After sanding everything and wiping it with clean rags, I resisted the temptation to wipe everything down with denatured alcohol or acetone. Denatured alcohol has too many other ingredients in it that will leave a contamination behind. Acetone will also leave an undesirable residue. PropSpeed supplies their own blue-colored alcohol wipe cloth to get everything cleaned up and ready for treatment. Experimenting over the years, I found that it's far better to prime the plastic parts of the Kiwi prop before putting on any kind of an anti-fouling paint. There is far better adhesion and longevity that way. After wiping everything down with the blue alcohol wipes and then very clean rags, I went over only the metal parts with the red oxidizer wipes. And now it was time to mix up the etching primer. All the good stuff is really settled to the bottom, so it takes a lot of stirring to blend it back into the vehicle. I decided since I would be using so little of this etching primer, I would weigh out half of it into a jar, but that jar would also give me a lot more splash room, less likely to spill it all over myself. So this is a 2-part primer. So we add in the hardener, mix it up real good for at least 2 minutes, and then it's ready to brush on. And it takes 2 coats. Each coat has to be wet on wet, or to be more precise, wet on barely sticky. That is, it can't dry too much. You can put your finger to it, just like in the PropSpeed video, and if it's sort of dry but a little tacky, it's ready for this next coat. This stuff sets up very quickly, so in 3 to 5 minutes, it's normally ready for another coating. It's certainly in colder temperatures, it'll take a little longer, but most definitely, you don't want to do this in direct sunlight. If the prop has to be turned, it's best to use something like a very clean popsicle stick or a clean screwdriver, or maybe even the handle of a paintbrush. You don't want to use your finger and risk leaving some kind of a bad blemish on the paint job. The same 3 to 5 minute application window of wet on tacky applies also to the final silicone clear finish, and that goes on with a very nice clean paintbrush, just as though it were varnish. There was just enough clearance between the blades and the hub to do this application of PropSpeed. If there was any restriction at all, if those blades did not flop around easily, then the PropSpeed would have to be removed in those areas. Also, these rotating blade stops have to move freely as well. Depending on how cold or warm the air temperature is, there's a minimum of 8 to 24 hours necessary before launching. Well, after 13 years of crossing oceans on this boat, we've had it for how long now?
20 years, 30 years.
I know, forever. And a lot of different anti-fouling has gone on this boat different times, just building up layers and layers that really was never performed like we expected it to or wanted it to.
No, it was almost like, why do we even bother doing it? It's just as bad as the stuff that we had that we just took off.
So, yeah, this is so far the best combination, the copper coat and the PropSpeed that we've ever had on the boat. So hopefully that'll certainly limit how much time I have to spend in the water cleaning this stuff. So what did it take, about 20 minutes this last time? Normally it takes about 2 hours to clean the bottom, to do it properly. So we'll give updates every 4 to 6 months. We'll see how it goes.
Well, when the water gets warmer. I hate to see Patrick have to go in the water to do these cleanings so often. So, hey, if you have any good ideas on how to clean the bottom without getting in the water, let us know.
Yeah, I didn't show my teeth chattering when I came out. I wasn't going to put that in the video. But what's the next video we're going to do?
Well, you know, we did go in the water in Richards Bay and sailed to East London and then here to Hout Bay, almost to Cape Town, almost, I don't know, over 800 miles. So, you know, maybe we should just go sailing in the next video. Forget these how-to videos.
Yeah, we got a lot more how-to videos, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll do a sailing video next time then. So that has, yeah, that passage was a little stormy at times. Flat calm motoring, just like right now, it's flat calm. But it can blow 30, 40 knots tomorrow. It's amazing the weather here, how fast it can change. Some of the best sailors in the world have got to be coming from this area of South Africa.
Yeah, like the t-shirt says, sailing South Africa is not for sissies.
But yeah, so we'll do a video next time, and it's like seasickness, and it has the lightning, it has storms and flat calms and navigational problems. So Yeah, that'll be
And it
fun
has
to
some
do.
really nice sailing too.
Yeah, oh yeah, that too. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Hey, give us a thumbs up and like it, if you liked it, or if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs up too.
All right, see you later.